Karen does all the artwork. Generally, anything that's artwork, aesthetics, I'm the one that makes the notebooks. This day I have staff, so they are the ones that make the notebooks. Basically, Birds & Co. has also evolved along the way. This is some of the ex-libris cards that we have. Late last year, August, I guess, we took on a challenge. We decided that we have always wanted, these are author pencils. We have always wanted to have a standalone Birds & Company store. Besides having inside the bookstore, we have really always wanted to have like a stationery light store that sells the Birds & Company stationery, and at the same time sell all the vintage items that we collect, in a sense. We got approached pretty early last year, January or February in 2010, by one of the shopping malls. The first approach, we said, bye, we don't want to be in a shopping mall. We have always wanted to be in this sort of quaint place, like a shop house in that sense, and we said no to them. The rent that they're proposing was actually pretty attractive to begin with for a shopping mall. They keep pestering. After doing more research, and of course they sweetened the deal by a lot, in August we set up Birds & Company over at Orchard Scene Leisure on the 3rd level. It's sort of like a dream come true in a sense, that we finally have a standalone Birds & Company store, but the nightmare actually sort of was in our head at the same time, because when we set up the second bookstore on Club Street, we swear off not setting up a second store so fast until we are really, really, really stable. But because the rent that they were offering back then, which we took up, it was far too attractive to pass up for the Orchard Road area, we decided to go ahead with it. We have been open at that site for like 6 months, I guess. It still needs a lot of tweaking. It still hasn't really stabilized. We get bad sales days, even though traffic is very high. So it's something along the way that we are still learning. But we are glad that we did have the experience of running 2 stores. And we were sort of proven wrong, because this one is so far away from the Club Street store, but it's actually more manageable for us, because I guess it's so far away. We can't just pop in and make sure everything is going okay, So we are sort of away from it, but it gives us more space to make sure that whenever we step into the store, we know what we are doing, and we are not always consistently stressed by 2 stores that are so close to each other. It's still an ongoing project. We still hope to do more Birds & Company stationery products, and of course bring more vintage items in a sense. And it's also, we actually put in quite a lot of local titles over there, say Serif. Serif, we have huge tons of it over there. The demographic over there, you see a lot of young kids. You're talking about kids from 13 years old to 16, 17, 18, 19, for the most part of the day. This is the entire demographics that you're seeing. We see it as a way of exposing them to some of the local titles that they might not get exposed to in their own school or in their own environment in a sense. We also see as a way where these younger demographics can actually learn how to appreciate older things, in a sense, vintage items, where actually, well, only we appreciate, but hopefully the young kids eventually will appreciate the old things that we sell in a sense. So that's for Birds & Company. Yeah. So to wrap up the whole thing, before I go to Q&A, I'll say the last area. So at that, I covered endurance, I covered challenges. The last one is very easy. It's actually belief. We run the business for 5 years, 3 months in a sense. Along the way, if we don't believe in ourselves, and we don't believe in the things that we sell, we don't believe in the things that we make, we don't believe in how the business is run, I don't think we could keep on doing it 7 days a week. Hopefully in future we don't need to do 7 days a week. It's 5 years, I'm already very, very tired in a sense. But it's that belief also that will keep you going, especially on times when are bad, you know, in a sense. We have experiences where we are not prompt with our rent, you know, just because sales wasn't that good the previous month or previous month, or cash flow just was too tight, in a sense. And the landlord will call, you know, are you going to pay your rent? You know, if you're not going to pay your rent, you know, I'm going to send the lawyers, in a sense, to you know, make sure that you pay your rent, in a sense. So we have that problems too, in a sense. But it's that belief and a self-belief that whatever we are doing now, it's correct, in a sense. Not that we can't do no wrong, in a sense, but we know that we are able to wake up every day and still tackle the problem at hand, or find ways to grow the business, in a sense. So it's that belief that has always kept us going. As long as you're embarking on setting up anything, on writing a book, to setting a business, to doing anything, as long as you have that core self-belief that you can do it, you wake up every day, you'll be able to do it, in a sense, regardless of what the people around you is going to say, in a sense. You eventually know that as long as you believe you can do it, you've got to find the right mix of factors, in a sense, the right mix of friends that will help you along the way. You can do it, in a sense, too. So, that's it.
So, yeah, are there any questions that you have for us?
Yes. Yes. Also their take-up rate.
Yeah. So I'm wondering whether you could share with us, were there any specific tactics or strategies that you use to actually outsell them?
I think we're lucky.
Or is it copyright or?
I think we're lucky in a sense because the fact that we are located in a shop house. So it does look better inside a shop house in a sense. Kino also didn't outsell us because they weren't confident of the title, in a sense. They didn't pick up 70 copies. I think they picked up close to 50 only. Then eventually they decided to do a reorder when they realized that the book is going to be a very bestseller. But by then we have already...
You got all the copies at the time.
Yeah, so we actually surpassed them from the sales point of view at Christmas. So yeah.
Thank you.
No problems. Yes. Future, the eventual progression, currently because we are still renting the premises, there's only one way out of that whole cycle. We can't possibly keep on renting, in a sense. It's still paying money to the landlord. The eventual move was actually to buy the building. We got to buy the property, especially you're talking about in Singapore. You don't buy the property, you will not be able to ensure the longevity of the business. You know, we are assured that we are, not to sound too arrogant or anything, but we are assured that BooksActually, as long as we continue buying the correct books, we continue doing what we have been doing so far, people would still enjoy to come to BooksActually and spend their money, in a sense. So the final, so-called final puzzle piece for us is actually to buy the property to ensure the longevity of business. Sadly, not anytime soon. To share something, which is, we've only shared it with less than 10 people so far, but we shall share it with you all. We're actually moving again. Yep.
Due to the very high rent.
We're moving again. We're not moving because we can't settle down in a place, but they are raising the rent again. As I said, at Club Street, we are paying 8,000. Highly likely, the minimum that we have to pay soon will be 12,000, and that's the minimum that I'm quoting. I'm not surprised if they say it's going to be 16. I'm not willing to pay that sort of money, even if the business is doing so well. I'm not willing to pay that sort of money every month to a landlord, and I'm just working for a landlord in that sense. On a positive note, we found a new space already, signing a contract really soon. It's near Tiong Bahru area. It's really, really quiet in the first place. There's no retailers there. There's one cafe just right opposite us. It's called 40 Hands Cafe. Free publicity for them. But it's really quiet because it's pure residential. You're looking at condominiums, HDBs. It's where Tiong Bahru Market is. Space is Space is actually a bit different. Club Street, we have 3 levels. This one is only a single level, but the space is actually much more bigger than 3 levels combined.
We see this move as a more strategic move because we'll be paying a significantly lower rent, and if you spread this out through, say, 2 years, we'll be able to save more as compared to paying the landlord $8,000, $9,000 at Club Street, yeah, or $16,000. So, yeah, with that, we hope to save up enough money to buy our own shop house and grow from there.
Yes.
Hi, I'm very curious. By shifting everywhere, does it mean that you're restarting your business again? Because, yeah, I could feel a different vibrant when you go to different places. Maybe you want to share with us what are some of your concerns, what are the challenges when you actually shift different places? Is it like more like restarting a whole business again?
It is.
Yeah.
In every sense of the word, it is. We are about to lose some regulars in that sense. At Club Street, you have a mixture of offices. From the office itself, we have regulars in that sense. We are bound to lose some of the regulars for sure. But the upside is that hopefully 50% of the regulars would still visit us on the weekends. So you're talking about, say, Telok Ayer Street. We have 50% of regulars that came back to us at Ann Siang and Club Street. And now from Ann Siang and Club Street, we are shifting to Tiong Bahru. So hopefully that 50% will follow us. And of course, we're going to build a new crowd, a new core of regulars at Tiong Bahru area also. So to some extent, it will actually help to push again the number of regulars. The business does, I wouldn't say it draws a lot of income from regulars in a sense, but it will help the business for sure. Without our regulars, without people that have been coming us for the last 5 years, this gentleman there sitting over there comes in every month, to make sure my cash still rings whenever it comes in. It's the form of regulars that comes in, and that make us do what we do in the first place, So.
Yeah, at the same time, when we move to Tiong Bahru, we might be attracting a new group of people who may not frequent Club Street or Ann Siang. So, in the sense, we're kind of spreading the word as well around Singapore, I should say, yeah. And hopefully something good works out from there.
I'm sorry? Sell online. Good question. The question has always been pitched to us a lot of times. As long as we can't fulfill the logistic part of it, where you make the order, you decide to buy a motor magazine online. You would expect your magazine to arrive within 2 days, right? This is Singapore, it's so small. You are bound to get your thing in 2 days. You can't get a thing in 2 days, then what's the point of buying online in the first place? As long as we can't fulfill that sort of delivery time, we will not go online, in that sense. We have third parties who come in and say that, we can do it for you, no problem. We can even do the online store for you and everything, But from all the feedback that we've gotten, the fact that we have taken on so much work all the time, we realize that we are not able to fulfill it at all. Because of our publishing and distribution from our own work experience, we actually distribute Serif and a couple other local titles to Kinokuniya and some of the local independent places. Maybe because we're a bit not so disciplined and a bit too busy, I'll usually say too busy, the book reaches them fastest ever is in 1 week. But generally it takes us 3 weeks before we can fulfill our order to different places. So if we can't even maintain that discipline to our different outlets, we will heavily disappoint our customers who are buying online, for sure. And it's something that we do not want to risk. The money is there, but to disappoint your customers, you're going to lose that customer forever. And it's the same thing for Club Street. Club Street was so big, 3 levels, and it's a topic that always comes up. Customers always ask, why not have a cafe too? Coffee, tea, and books goes very well. You guys got to have a cafe, it's perfect, nice. I'm sure you guys will do it perfect. And we tell them, most likely we'll screw it up very badly. If you're in a cafe, you want service. You can't say, I'll put a coffee machine there and I'll let it be self-service. You go serve yourself. Then I'll put a coin box there, you just pay whatever you want to pay. That's not how we envision a cafe to be like, in that sense. We want you to be able to sit down, you get your menu straight away, we take your order straight away, your order comes to you within 5 to 10 minutes, hopefully, and then when you ask for the bill doesn't reach you 10 minutes later, you get the bill fast enough. You know, that's how we want to do a cafe. But we can't even, there's so many things to do on a daily basis in the store itself. Shipment comes in, we serve a customer that's asking for a book recommendation and so forth. We realize that we won't be able to provide that sort of level of service that we want. So with that, no, we will not do the cafe either. Whether it's for true, the profit margin is way higher serving a cup of coffee than selling a book. But we will not do it as long as we will not be able to provide the service.
At the same time, our buying patterns are very different from the other bookstores or the other shops out there, like Amazon, for example. They have 1,000 copies of a single title sitting at a warehouse. But for us, every single title that you see in our bookstore is bought by our own money, which means that we have to be very diligent in choosing our titles and the number of copies that we have. So if a customer buys this copy online, say 1984, and then we have 10 other customers who also want to buy the same title, we can't fulfill that because we only have, say, 2 titles sitting on the shelf. So that is also a bad practice for us. And
bad and good practice.
Yeah, bad and good practice.
It's a just-in-time practice, I mean, for us, because the business model works very, very differently for the book industry. How it works is basically if you're a small independent retailer, a book retailer, you have 2 options, of course. You can either buy the book on a firm sale, meaning you pay upon delivery when they deliver you, or you do it on consignment. You get to return any unsold stocks, no problem. But the standard entry market percentage margin that they give you is 30%. So when you look at it, the book sells for $10 retail. You as the retailer, you're earning $3. $3, I can eat a plate of chicken rice. I will not be able to pay my $8,000 rent, for sure. We decided to change the model a bit. We said that, how about I pay you cash upon delivery, but you generally give me a higher percentage and margin. But it also means that I can't return any unsold stocks. So whatever that we have in the store is generally, we got to be precise in that sense that we got to make sure that it's either a title, it's an obscure title that I don't mind having it sitting in the store for 6 months to a year until it finds its beloved owner, or it moves within that 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But it also means that we curb our buying for that. See, even for the most popular titles that always sells very well, 1984 Lolita, offhand maximum I will have 5 to 7 copies maximum. Other than that, any other titles I'll usually take in 2 to 3 titles, 2 to 3 copies, sorry. So yeah.
And if you're talking about online sales for our products like Birds & Co. and Math Paper Press, yes, we do have a bigger number of stocks sitting around at our store, but what we prefer to do is to sell these to retailers around the world. So for example, in Japan, Cow Books in Tokyo actually buys their stocks from us. So in that sense, they also control their budget because what they're doing, they're a small independent shop. So whenever they want to buy something from overseas, they have to pay upfront, which is something that we encourage as well. So the capacity that they're able to buy is limited, and we are also able to produce that sort of quantity that they require. So in that sense, we are also trying to spread the word out to as many countries as possible, but in manageable chunks. Sorry.
Like I said, we gathered around $40,000. We took up half of a loan from her mom, which was 20, and from my own previous jobs, I didn't study a lot to begin with, so I had been working for quite a while. So that was from my own savings. So 20 with the own savings and 20 from my mom. And that's how we started up Telok Ayer Street. But with $40,000, okay, this is what the bookstore. In fact, it's even more cluttered now. This is a pretty old picture for Club Street. It's way more cluttered now. But there's this one picture that This is what Telok Ayer Street is.
We only had
so
like
little
8
books.
shelves of books.
And when we look at it on the first day, we were like, wow, fantastic, best bookstore in the world, man. You know, but in terms of numbers, the number of books that we had there, this is 1/4 of what I have inside Club Street now. You know, but that amount of books cost us that much money. Not saying I'm discouraging you all from selling a bookstore. You know, I don't mind in that sense. The books industry is a very capital-intensive industry itself. Either you run it on a very big scale, so everything that you bring in, you can always return to suppliers, doesn't matter, because you actually move books by the numbers. Because small percentage is fine, but you move things by volume, so it's fine. But if you're a small bookstore like us, you can only move so much, because you only have so much traffic, you can only have so much books in a sense. So you will never be able to get the volume that you want. You have to depend heavily on the margins that the distributors can give it to you. And you're always trying to squeeze them, and at the same time, they're always trying to squeeze you. So I love squeezing my distributors, so yeah.
One way of going about this is to specialize in something, which is what we're doing. Create a niche for yourself. So if there's something that a customer can't find at the bigger bookstores, you can be assured that they'll be able to find it here.
Okay, our customer service goes one step further. We have 2 ways of doing it. You come to the bookstore, you look for a title, either because I don't have stocks of it, or it's just that I don't carry that genre. The computer is always in front of us, the internet is always on, so we'll go online and search on Kinokuniya. You know, if Kinokuniya has it, I'll tell you that, yep, Kino has it, you gotta check it out then. You know, so it doesn't matter whether the sale was made or not. You make sure that your customer get what he or she wanted. And of course, there are instances where the customer say, oh, I'm too lazy to go Kinokuniya. But I know that title is available at Kinokuniya, and I know that my supplier, you know, he or she will not be able to fulfill it to me so fast. You know, he or she is going to take 2 weeks to pass me a title. And the customer say, I need a title pretty urgently. I say, okay, no problem. Give me your contact. You know, give me your number. And I say, I'll get back to you within 3 days. So either one of us or one of our staff will bring a Kino card with us. We'll go to a Kino, buy that title, then after that call the customer and say, oh, your book has arrived. You know, customer doesn't need to know that. You know, but effectively, I only earn 10% because I get the Kino card membership. But our job was actually we fulfilled what the customer wanted, you know, and it gives us a chance to go to town in that sense. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Stuff. I have one full-timer. I have a lot of part-timers. 8 part-timers. Yeah. A few of them are behind. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, you had a question?
I'm just very curious. 2 questions actually. How is your team dynamics like? Because you are very quite diverse. You are into stationery, you're into books, and just very curious. I mean, how is your talent management like? So the second question that I'm very curious is, you mentioned something about the Bird & Co. that you had at Orchard Sim Leisure, right? Maybe you would like to share a little bit more about, you mentioned it needs a little bit of tweaking, and yeah, what do you think is a problem? Because I realized that your company thrived very well in places like vintage places, shop houses, but when it goes up to these high-end, a little bit of a challenge to actually shine. So maybe you want to share a little bit more? Thanks.
Okay, team dynamics. It runs like a dictatorship. I'm the dictator number 1, dictator number 2. Okay, kidding. It's not, say, an office job where you come in and say that, you know, you work throughout the entire day. Usually when we do a new hire, the part-time, we actually have a lot of part-timers because generally we don't need so many full-time staff throughout the entire week in a sense, so we have a lot more part-timers. So it's more flexible in terms of our cash flow management in a sense. The first criteria that we always tell on your first day of work, you know, your break time is flexible. Your lunch time, your dinner time is flexible. You get to take as many breaks as you want, as long as you are serving my customer, when the customer needs to be served, as long as if the piece of work that I give you, say the stitching, 10, 20 notebooks, you can finish it, you're more than welcome to take your breaks. You're more than welcome to go to the shelf and look at the books and know the books that we are selling in the first place. So that's how we manage our staff, in a sense. Not saying that we never had a difficult staff, in a sense. You know, we try to filter as much as possible during the hiring process. Because I was from Borders, at Borders, when you decide to apply for a position, you can actually get a book quiz. You know, then after the quiz, during interview, the person will ask you, so you wrote that title there, so can you tell me more about the story about the title you wrote there in your quiz, you know? So we actually have the same thing during the hiring process. Before we do the interview, we actually have a quiz in a sense. So we try to determine how pro-efficient you are at what you say you are, in a sense. Then of course the more important part is actually the attitude and the vibe of the person during the interview. You know, there are some people who are just cut out for retail and customer service, but there are some people who is more cut out for the back-end office staff. So that's how we try to have the team around us to support us in our work, in a sense.
Yeah. Although the first criteria, I suppose, is we try to cover our store operations first and foremost, because we are a bookstore and we are a retail shop. So once we have that covered, we have enough staff looking after the store. We will go into details about each character that we have. So for example, this staff is really good at handicraft. So we'll pass on Birds & Co. Bookbinding skills to that person, and that person will go on and continue with that. Or if we find that you're really good at your language and editing, we'll put you in charge of our math paper press. And similarly, if you're really good at PRing, we'll sort of put you in charge of publicity, as well as selling our products to other shops, local and overseas shops. So we try to find out what each person is good at, and we try to expand that from there. Then
second question. Okay. It's very challenging running a Birds & Company store because of the demographics. They're all young kids. And young kids generally like to touch everything. The fact that we have the thing that's vintage there. We sell a vintage notebook. We sell it for $4, $5. It was made in the 60s, so generally parts of it is falling off. Well, you have the kid flipping through it, so some of the parts start falling off, and then say, ew, it's so old. Why would I want to buy this? You know, so you get the sort of reaction, and once you see it, you're like, what the hell?
And I suppose the people in Orchard Road are actually not used to unique items. They're more used to mass-produced items. So when you see stuff like that, they tend to think that these are from China, or like they're produced like 10,000 pieces at a time, and why is it priced at this range, or why is the condition so bad? I suppose we're trying to educate them that these are actually vintage items, and they're unique, and it's not something that you can find anywhere else. Every single item here took us a lot of time to procure. Like we go
around trying to buy. We do have to buy the things on bulk in the first place to make sure it makes business sense. We have like the police whistles that were done in the 60s. They were all made in Germany. We used to sell it individually like a whistle. You know, we put it at the bookstore. We put it inside a tray. You know, then you can just buy a whistle. But I realized that as the product itself, it didn't work at Sea Leisure. The young demographic, customers going there, will pick up and say, okay, whistle. No, then they'll put it back. And this is one of our best-selling items at the bookstore to begin with, you know. So I said, okay, they seem to appreciate things differently. So we decided to go procure leather strings. We just string it up like a necklace, and we hung it there. So now it's one of our best-selling items over there. So
because
yeah, the kids see it as a fashion accessory.
Yeah,
so that's how we did it up for Birds & Company. We had to change a lot how we did. At a bookstore, we tend not to pack anything in plastic or any shrink wrap or anything. Everything is available for browsing in a sense. at Birds and Company, we realized that for the more fragile items, we actually got to pack it up. So that's the change that we experienced, in a sense, while setting up and running a store there. And we're still learning along the way. There'll be certain items that will never find an audience, in a sense. But we also realized that there were books that was not doing well at BooksActually. We feature it so many times, but it doesn't move. There's no sales for it, in a sense. But we shifted to Orchard Scene Leisure, but because of the high traffic there, you see more people. It actually sells well there. So that's how we are learning over there also. Okay, actually, came up from our book fair days. We're actually doing, before we had the physical store itself, we were actually doing so-called book fairs and bazaars at various locations, but generally always at NUS, where the Faculty of Arts and Social Science. So we just set up these 2 long tables, and the entire table is filled with books, so you see the spines or the cover up, so it's books. Then you will get students coming up to you, "Hi, what are you all selling?" So of course we're like, actually we sell books, and they're actually worth reading, So, and realized it didn't happen once, twice, it kept on consistently happening. And at least once or twice a year in the bookstore itself, where Club Street is, you still get one customer that will come in, look at the entire place and ask, "What are you guys selling?" So of course, books, I guess. So that's how the name came about. BooksActually, we actually sell books worth reading. So that's how the name came out. Birds and Company is more of we actually like birds a lot. It's the Animal Planet thing coming out again.
Yeah, and a lot of our Birds & Co. products, as you can see, they actually feature a lot of the old school printing techniques like rubber stamping or typewriting using a typewriter, and a lot of typeset involved. So that was kind of reminiscent of the 1800s, where people actually produced their own ink, and they made sure that everything they printed was done by hand. And we tried to replicate that as well right now. Even though we don't have the actual printing presses, we replicate that using rubber stamps, we replicate that using typewriters. And in the 1800s, most of the companies were actually family run. So it was a skill that was passed down through generations. And a lot of these companies had the names like, for example,
Dean and Sons.
Yeah, Dean and Sons or something and company. So that's where we got our inspiration from for Birds and Company.
Our surname is not perfect. If it's Leck and Company or Y and Company, it's not going to work. So, but we love birds a lot, and we collect a lot of books on birds in that sense. We do quite a lot, and so that's how it came out. It was simple. It was Birds and Company. So yeah. Maybe let this. Yes.
My name is Rashid, and just very curious about the expanding Birds and Company and the market. So, was it a set? You had to raise separate something like that, or most actually had to go out? How did you have to expand to these
I should say we didn't have to raise up too much. We did have to raise up a little bit for sure. We tightened up our belts a little bit. We made sure we buy lesser books for the next few months in that sense, to make sure that we have the cash flow is healthy in that sense. But to set up Birds & Co., I'm going to use the word that we are lucky, we are blessed in that sense. We got a pretty good deal out of the whole thing. To share something more confidential in a sense, part of the whole rental scheme that we are paying them 2 years. Of course, we pay them rent every month for the next 2 years. But we managed to sweeten the deal to the point where part of our rent is actually paid with book vouchers. So if you're actually shopping at Orchard Scene Leisure, you go to any of the stores that you buy something, say you spend $70 worth at Rockstar by Sun Lee, you get the receipt from the premises that you shop at, you go down to the customer the customer service counter, you actually can redeem $20 worth of BooksActually voucher. With the voucher, of course, you come to Birds and Company and can spend it all. So that was actually our rental value that we gave out. But it also didn't mean that we paid $20 because it was just the printing of paper. And say you spend your $20 on a book, right? And a book technically maybe costs us $12. So in effective sense, I only paid $12 of rent instead of $20, even though that was a $20 voucher. So that was actually one of the major factors that pushed us into Orchard Synergy, because the deal was just too good to pass up for an Orchard Road mall in a sense.
It was a good way to spread our name as well and to introduce literature to the younger generation.
We don't consciously, we use it and we don't use it at the same time. Sadly, Facebook is taking over our lives, so we can't run with your Facebook unless you delete your account in that sense. We are on Facebook, we have the BooksActually group. We try to maintain it as much as possible. Most of them is just nonsense from both of us. But we see it as a form of reaching out to stay in contact in a sense. Facebook controls our lives, so it's a good form of staying in contact. If we have something going on, we can use Facebook to inform our customers. Sometimes actually more effective than an emailer in a sense. We have our own database also, but you check your Facebook more consistently than you check your email, so obviously your Facebook works. Blog, we actually do have our staff, a couple of staff who are really good at what she does in that sense, and they will try to blog as much as possible on what's ongoing, like the events or a new product that's came out or a new book that's coming out in that sense. So social media and the internet, it is a key platform for us, just that we don't so-called invest so much energies in it. It's just part and parcel of the work. Like if there's 10 tasks to be done for that day, it's just one of the tasks that we do for that day.
I suppose it's something more organic. We don't actually seek advertising online or in print. Usually they come to us and we give them the info and they spread the word from there. Okay, we actually have something like this in a physical form, not online. There's these two young designers who came up with this idea of recommend another card. It's basically a small card where you can pick up from our counter, and you can actually recommend somebody who really likes this book, and you write another title that you think the person who has read this book will enjoy. And then you place it in a random book on our shelves, or you can bring it out of our bookstore, you can put it at Borders, you can put it in the National Library. And it basically recommends another,
it's a random act of recommending a book in that sense. I hate to use that word. It's a necessary evil. If you're going to do the business, you surely will be using Facebook. You're going to reach out to a different demographic. You might not be able to reach parents of my age. Of course, I know some parents actually have Facebook and their kids are so afraid of adding them. But you might not be able to reach the parents, but you're going to reach a demographic that is actually important in a sense for a retail like us. Yeah.
And I suppose Facebook is very personal. Like, for example, on your personal page, you wouldn't actually push something that you don't believe in. And that, for us, has worked pretty well. Everything in our bookstore is something that we believe strongly in. And when we recommend it, it's not false, as in it's not false marketing in that sense. And I think people can see that this is real, and they don't consciously push it off as marketing, as compared to, say, emailers, for example. Like when you receive an emailer from us, you might think that it's marketing, but for Facebook, I suppose it's different.
I could try to break it down in more of two ways. Whatever we do, no matter how high or how noble the idea is, got to contribute the bottom line. It got to help me pay the rent. It got to allow me to stop working 7 days a week. So whether it's social media or whatever activities that's related to the store, I got to make sure that it contributes to the bottom line. If it doesn't, it has to stop somewhere. You can start it, you can be on it, but it got to stop somewhere because it's sucking out the time from us personally, whether it's ourselves or our staff, and they're not helping to contribute bottom line. It got to stop. If Facebook reached a stage, or social media reached a stage where it's just all fun, and not helping the business in any way, you will see me deleting my account. Yeah. Yes.
More independent. So even big bookshops
Competition it works both ways, and we actually classify them into two categories. One is bookstores. Whether you're a big bookstore or you're a small bookstore, over the years we had 25 degrees Celsius, which sadly is no longer with us anymore as a retail outlet. And of course, of late, we had Littered with Books. They are pretty near us actually. That's until we move. Yeah, they are over at Duxton. So basically, bookstores are coming up, and of course, our good friends, who is just a few units away from us, Woods in the Books, they are also a children's and picture bookstore in a sense. So everybody is competition, but it depends on how you view it. I get a kick out of selling 70 Singapore shop houses and beating Kino out of it, and yeah, I get a very huge kick out of that. But at the same time, the competition keeps you on your toes, and that's the only reason why they exist to me as an individual. And we don't just see the big bookstores or small bookstores and competition. The fact that where we are as a retail cluster, we are actually competing with the rest of the retailers. You're talking about, and they are so different from because they are non-bookstores. You have the Dome store, they sell a lot of knickknacks and vintage items. You have the Asylum, where it's basically a fashion label store now. You have Fred Perry, you have Star Nordic, and you have Trolley that's just beside us. They sell Homestar concept stuff in the store. They sell things that are different from us, but they are our competition at the end of the day. And every single hour, when both stores open up, when all the stores open up at 11 or 12, we are competing against each other. To make it a bit more sound too simple, but basically, if let's say you're a customer, you're 16 to 18 years old, you just got a Chinese New Year ang pao, you're $200 richer on that day. So you decide to, okay, I will go explore Club Street. I'm going to bring my $200 and spend there today instead of Orchard Road. So the first store that you walk past is actually my good friend's store, Woods in the Books. And oh shit, the books inside are so damn nice. I'm going to spend $150 there, and you end up spending $150 there. Then after that, the second store you walk past is, BooksActually. Seems a nice place too. I'm going to walk in. I walk in. Oh, nice books too. Oh crap, I only have $50 left. Oh well, I'll spend $50 here then. That's all my New Year ang pao I have. So in some sense, that's where the competition comes about, because I actually lost out on that full $200 value. But that's how it works in the first place. Everybody is competition. As long as we're in that retail cluster, everybody is competition to me. But how we see each other is, luckily, this retail cluster is very friendly with each other. We tend to promote customers to and fro. Some of the stores actually carry similar things. For example, say we used to carry a certain brand of cameras that Dome Store carries. So when we're out of stock, we say, why don't you check out with Dome Store? They might have it in that sense. And same thing with picture books. Woods in the Books, they carry the Little Prince pop-up. For sure, I will carry the Little Prince pop-up. It's something that we like a lot. So during the Christmas season, we are heavily out of stock. We say, why don't you hit the Dome Store instead? Woods in the Books, to see whether they have stocks. So that's how the competition works at the end of the day for us.
At the same time, because these are independent bookstores, they are run by individuals, meaning it's either Kenny and I or somebody else who owns the store. So that store actually has its own personality, and the owners feel something for certain products and certain items, which means that, say there's 1,000 books in the world, maybe I'm only interested in, say, 200 books. Then that's where another store can come in and sort of carve a niche for themselves for the other 200 books, and somebody else can come in and do the same for something else. So in a sense, we are competition, but at the same time, we also see this as a healthy sort of...
It complements.
It complements
I brought
each
an
other.
example where if I don't have a book, I check that the book is available online at the Kino's website. I'm going to tell the customer, no, I don't have it, but Kino has stocks of it. So eventually it's more of, it's competition and complementary at the same time. Obviously, I said I hope that the customer buy the book from me, but sometimes it doesn't work out all that way all the time, in a sense. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Any more questions? Yes. I'm sorry? Why NUS? Why NUS?
We've actually tried doing book fairs at various tertiary institutions, NUS, SMU,
Republic
Poly,
RGS. There were hit and misses. And I can tell you that not NUS always is a hit in a sense. The last 3 days when we did Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I'm quite sure I made a loss because of the location that we were offered in a sense. It was at the Central Forum. And somehow, the last 3 days, students are just not into my local books. So, NUS is not always a hit in a sense, but we see it as a form of outreach in a sense. While we are there, we try to push serif as much as possible. We have flyers also. We tell that serif, is because they are student population, so serif is a form of platform. If they write, they can always submit their submissions to the serif editors in a sense. Keeps out awake at night. No way, man. Once I reach home, I will just knock out. Nothing keeps us awake at night. I mean, obviously, there are times, like I said, we were late with rent payments, but we always try to get a good night's sleep, no matter how late we reach back in a sense. And the problems, the worries only come in the morning. And because that's when we are in the best state of mind. And with that sort of worries and problems that we have, we'll try to find some way to make sure we pay the rent. Either we do a new notebook, or we do something, or we try to canvas more corporate sales, in that sense. So, yeah. Yes. Dead book stocks. I'm happy to say that I try not to have any dead book stocks in the store. As long as in an air-conditioned environment as the bookstore is, the books doesn't turn yellow too much, in that sense. You keep the weather out of the bookstore. So we do have books that have been sitting on the shelf for the last 4 years, last 5 years at least, I'm sure. Customer will pick it up. If the customer is okay with the price that's set, even though it's a bit yellowish, I'll sell it to the customer. If the customer say, "Could I get a discount for it?" I say, "Okay, 10%, is it okay?" Then I'll still sell the book in that sense. So for us, there's no dead book stock in that sense. We don't remainder anything. It's not our practice to buy in something and then have it eventually remaindered or have it 50% sale in that sense. We do not want that to happen to our books in the first place.